Sophie, please have a seat. Don't you find that with your short sight is a little trying to do so much typewriting?
You heard of me? How'd you know that? I did at first, but now I know where the letters are without looking.
Never mind. It's my business to know things. Perhaps I've trained myself to see what others overlook. If not, why should you come to consult me?
I came to you, sir, because I heard of you from Mrs. Wan, where husbands you found so easily when the police and everyone had given up for death. Oh, Mr. James, I wish you would do as much for me. I'm not rich, but still I have 100 a year in my own right. Besides the little that I make by the machine, I will give it all to know what has become of Mr. Garnett.
So, Miss Sophie, please tell me, why did you come a long way to consult me in such a hurry?
Yes. I did been out of the house because it made me angry to see the easy way in which Mr. Wendy, my father, took it all. He would not go to the police and he would not go to you, and so that last as he would do something and kept on saying that there was no harm done. It made me so mad, and I just go on with my things and came right away to you.
Your father? I think it's your stepfather, since the name is different.
Yes, my stepfather. I call him father. So it's so funny too, for he is only 5 years and 2 months older than me.
And your mother is alive?
Oh yes, my mother is alive and well, and when they married again, so soon after my father's death, a man who was nearly 15 years younger than herself, father left a tidy business behind him. But when Mr. Winnie came, he made her sell the business, for he was very superior, being a traveler in wines. They got £4,700 for the goodwill and interest, which was near as much as father could have got if he had been alive.
Let's talk about your income.
It is quite separate and was left me and the stock by my uncle.
You interest me extremely. I believe a single lady can get on very nice upon an income of about £60.
I could do with much than that, but you understand that as long as I live at home, I don't wish to be burdened to them and solely have the use of money just while I'm staying with them. Of course, that is only for time. Mr. Wayne enjoys my interest every quarter and passes it over to my mother. And I find that I can do pretty well with what I earn at typewriting. It brings me 2 pence a sheet, and I can often do from 15 to 20 sheets in a day.
Tell me something about your husband.
Even though my father didn't allow me to meet Mr. Garner when I was in love with him, we used to write letters every day. I look for letters in the morning, so there was no need for father to know.
Were you engaged to the gentleman at this time?
Oh yes, we were engaged after the first work that we looked, and Mr. Garner was the cashier in an office down the Jinan Road.
What office?
That's the words of it. I don't know.
Where did he live?
He slept on the premises.
And you don't know his addresses?
No. Except it was Jinan Road.
And where do you address your letters?
To the Jinan Road post office. It said that if they were sent to the office, he would be shagged by all other callers about having letters from ladies. So I offered to typewrite them like he did this, but he wouldn't have that, for he said that when I wrote them, they seemed to come from me. But when the word typewritten, he was always feel that the machine had come between us. That would just show you how fond he was of me, and the little thing that he would think of it.
It was the most suggestive. It has long been an axiom of mine that the little things are infinitely the most important. Can you remember any other little things about Mr. Garnett?
Yeah, he was a very shy man. He would rather walk with me in the evening than in the daylight. For he said that he had to be conspicuous, very retiring, and genuinely he was. Even his voice was gentle. He had a crimson and swallow glance when he was young, and he had left me living with a weak throat, and he had hesitated. Whispering fashion of speech, he was always well dressed, very neat and plain, but his eyes were weak, just as mine are.
Well, and what happened when Mr. Wendy, your stepfather, returned to France?
Mr. Garner came to the house again and proposed that we should marry before father came back. He was in dreadful earnest and made me swear, with my hands on testament, that whatever happened I will always be true to him. Mother said it was quite right to make me swear, and that was a sign of his passion. Mother was old in his favor from his first, and was even fonder of him than I was. Then when they talked of marrying within a week, I began to ask about father. They both said, never mind about father, but just to tell them afterwards. And mother said she would make it all right with him. I didn't quite like that, Mr. James. It seemed funny that I should ask him leave, as he was only a few years older than me. But I didn't want to anything on the slide. So I wrote to father at Bordeaux, where the company has a French office. But the letter came back to me on the very morning of the wedding.
You missed him then?
Yes, sir. He had started to England just before it arrived.
That was unfortunate. Your wedding was arranged then for the Friday. Was it to be in church?
Yes, sir. But very quietly, Mr. Garnett came for us in a car, but as there were two persons of us, he put us both in it and stayed himself in another four-wheeler, which happened to be the only other cabin street. We got to the tree first, and when the four-wheeler drove up, waiting for him to step up, but he never did. When the cabman got out from the bus and looked, there was no one there. The cabman said he could not imagine that had become of him, for he had seen him getting with his own eyes. That was last Friday, Mr. James. And I have never seen or heard anything since then to throw any light upon what had become of him.
Miss Sophie, it seems to me that you've been very shamefully treated.
Oh no, sir. He was too good and kind to leave me. So, wide all the morning it was saying to me that whatever happened, I was to be true. And that even if something quite unforeseen occurred to separate us, I was always to remember that I was pledged to him, and that he would claim his pledge sooner or later. It seems strange talk for a waiting morning, but what has happened seems given a meaning.
Most certainly it does. So your own opinion is that some unforeseen catastrophe has occurred to him, right?
Yes, sir. I believe that he foresaw some danger, and else he would not have talked so. And then I think that what if so happened?
But you have no notion as to what it could have been.
No.
Okay. One more question. How did your mother take this matter?
She was angry and said I was never to speak of the matter again.
And your father? Did you tell him?
Yes, and he seemed to think with me, and that something had happened, and that I should hear of Mr. Garnett again. As he say, what interest could anyone have in bringing me to the doors of a church and then leaving me? Now, if I had borrowed my money, or if he had married me, or got my money settled on him, there might be some reason. But Mr. Garnett was very independent about money and never would look at the shilling of mine. Yet, what could have happened? What could be not right? Or it drives me half mad to think of it. And I can sleep a wink at night.
I shall glance into the case for you, and I have no doubt that we shall reach some definite results. Let the weight of the matter rest upon me now. and don't let your mind dwell upon it further. Above all, try to let Mr. Garnett vanish from your memory, as he has done from your life.
Nick, you don't think I've seen him again?
I fear not.
Then what has happened to him?
You will leave that question in my hands. I shall like an accurate description of him and any letters of his which you can spare. Thank you, Miss Sophie. And where's your address? Mr. Garnett's address you never had, I understand. But where's your father's business address? Thank you. You have made your statement very obviously. You will leave the papers here. And remember the advice which I have given you. Let the whole incident be a sealed book, and do not allow it to affect your life.
Oh, you're very kind, Mr. James, but I cannot do that. I should be true to Mr. Garner, and he should find me ready when he comes back. Thank you.
That will do. As to the letters, they are very commonplace. Absolutely no clue in them to Mr. Garnett, save that they put bells at once. There is one remarkable point, however, which will no doubt strike you. Hey Ray.
No. Yeah, typewritten?
Not only that, but the signature is typewritten. Look at the neat Garnett here. At the bottom, there's a date, you see, but no superscription except tonight road, which is rather vague. The point about the signature is very suggestive. In fact, we may call it conclusive.
Of what?
My dear fellow, is it possible you do not see how strongly it bears upon the case?
I cannot say that I do, unless the group that he wish to be able to deny this signature if an action for a breach of a promise were instituted.
No, that was not the point, however. I shall write 2 letters, which should settle the matter. One is to the firm in the city, the other is to the young lady's stepfather, Mr. asking him whether he can meet us here at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. It is just as well that we should do business with the no relatives. And now, Ray, we could do nothing until the answers to those letters. So we may put our real problem upon the shelf in the interim.
Hey James, well, have you solved it?
Yes. It's 1 + 1 = 2.
No, the mystery.
Oh, that! I thought of the sort that I've been working on. There was never any mystery in this matter, though. As I said yesterday, some of the details are of interest. The only drawback is that there is no law, I fear, that can touch the scoundrel.
Who was it? Then what was his object in deserting Miss Sophie?